I was about 8 years old, I spent most summers at my grandparents' house. It was a small, quiet house in a rural neighborhood where nothing ever seemed to happen. My grandfather had converted my mom's old bedroom into a computer room. The setup was simple: a bulky desktop computer, a wooden desk facing the wall, a rolling office chair, and a single doorway that opened directly into the hallway. Every day followed the same routine. Around 2 in the afternoon, my grandparents' lifelong friend from next door would come over. The three of them would sit on the front porch for hours, drinking iced tea and talking. One afternoon seemed no different. I remember the heat, the kind that made the air look wavy above the pavement. My grandparents and their friend were all sitting outside together. I could hear them talking from the porch. At some point, my grandmother asked me to go inside and get my grandfather a glass of iced tea. I remember feeling annoyed. I didn't want to leave the conversation because they were telling funny stories. But I went anyway. The house felt strangely quiet when I stepped inside. The screen door slammed behind me, and suddenly, all I could hear was the hum of the air conditioner. I walked into the kitchen, filled a glass with ice, poured the tea, then started back toward the front door. To get outside, I had to pass the computer room. The door was open, just like always. As I walked past, I glanced inside and froze. My grandfather was sitting in his chair, staring at the computer. At first I wasn't alarmed. I assumed he had come inside without me noticing. But then I remembered something. I had just seen him outside, less than 30 seconds earlier. I stopped in the hallway, the glass shaking slightly in my hands, and looked again. He hadn't moved. His back was straight. His hands rested on the armrests. His head pointed toward the dark computer monitor. The computer wasn't on, but there was light. A pale blue glow danced across his face, reflecting in his glasses, as if a screen were running. Except there wasn't one. I remember feeling confused. Then something else, something much worse. Because the longer I stared, the less human he looked. Tiny distortions rippled across him, like static on an old television. His outline flickered. Small sections of him seemed to jump and snap back into place. For a second, his shoulder appeared to shift several inches to the side before correcting itself. Then his face glitched. That's the only word I've ever found for it, like reality itself couldn't decide where his features belonged. I couldn't move. I couldn't call out. I just stood there staring. 3 seconds, maybe 4, maybe longer. Then something happened. Slowly. Without moving the rest of his body, and his head began turning toward me. I remember this part perfectly. It wasn't natural. It wasn't smooth. It moved in tiny, jerking motions, like frames missing from a video. Tick, tick, tick. Until he was almost facing me, and that's when I realized he wasn't looking at the computer. He had been looking directly at the doorway the entire time, waiting. The moment I understood that, he vanished. Not faded, not blinked away. Vanished. Like someone had cut him out of the room. The chair was empty. The computer was off. The room was silent. I dropped the spoon I'd been carrying. The sound echoed through the hallway. Then I ran. Straight out the front door. The glass of tea sloshing over the sides. My grandfather was sitting exactly where he'd been before, laughing at something his friend had said. Completely normal, completely unaware. I never told anyone what I saw. Not then, not for years. But what still bothers me isn't that I saw him inside the house. It's what happened decades later. After my grandfather passed away, I was helping clean out the house. The computer room was mostly empty. The desk was gone. The computer had been thrown away. Only the chair remained, sitting alone in the corner. As I stood in the doorway, I felt something I hadn't felt since childhood. The urge to look at the chair. Really look at it. And for just a second, I could have sworn I saw a faint blue glow reflected on the lenses of a pair of glasses, where no one was sitting.